AWM Aero Window Manager is now on GitHub. The previous video will be linked in the description, and this is a small showcase of the software in the exact same VM that it was in before. So let's start with a blank canvas and start opening stuff up. So the previous video is linked in the description. You can go watch that because I might not cover it extensively because I've already kind of shown some stuff. And the video got like, what, 5,000 views, so you'll probably be fine if you watch that. And yeah. So a key difference is that now we have text flow. I'm going to pop this thing up here, which is not in the final, but you can enable it if you build AWM with the AWM underscore debug flag set to true. But anyway, there's text glow, which wasn't there before in the previous one. The shadow is still here, and I will not show that yet because I want to go through some stuff as well as the default settings. One thing I would like to note is that the software is quite buggy. Right to left text won't work properly, and that is it's been an issue for a while, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be fixed until I rework the text completely, if I ever get around to that. So there might be issues with right to left text, but for now you don't have to worry too much about it if you're using most languages in the world and pretty much any language in the Western world, because there's only like 3 alphabets: the Latin, Greek, Cyrillic. It supports those just fine as far as I'm aware. As well as Japanese, I've tested that, I think, probably. I use Japanese characters in my testing before making it display these title bars, just for that, as well as emojis. So it should also support emojis, theoretically. But anyway, let's see, what do I want to show off? Let's start with the default settings. So I reset my, that's not it, but we can reset that. So I reset my AWM settings to the defaults are regenerated by the this temporary GUI made by Neptune. Except these 2 values here. Now I'll go through these because they're kind of what do you call it? Unintuitive, to say the least. Yeah, so these 2 values are going to be wrong in the version that's on GitHub. They're going to be 1 and 0 when they should be 2 and 1 to match Windows 10. But that's fine. You can just change this to 1 and it's going to be fine. This basically just adds the size of the border to the icon. If it's set to 1, it will only add it once. So the icon will be here, aligned with this edge here. Let me actually open up the magnifier because I was told to do that last video because it would show stuff off better if it would open. Well, that's not what I want to do. Where's the magnifier? Where are you? Come here. All right. Yeah, I want it on screen when I'm looking at stuff. Let's do the magnifier window itself. So right now the icon is aligned to this edge. In Windows 10, it is 8 pixels deeper. So I hope you understand. And if it's 0 times the border, it's going to be here. So it's going to be kind of like, in a regular Windows 10 window, that would be off the screen. Off the window, I mean. But yeah, we're off the frame. Anyway, so let's apply this to set the default settings. And that should set everything correctly. There we go. So as you can see, now we have some pretty Windows 10 looking windows. If I do this, see, let's actually change to Windows 10 to show that better. But it is indeed almost completely accurate to Windows 10. Almost, because there's one key feature missing, and that is the borders cannot have a different color because I made this with earlier versions of Windows in mind. But if that feature is requested on GitHub, there's a chance I will add it. And as you can see in inactive Windows, because the borders are from MS Styles, it is actually added. But as you can see here, with the, well, almost the default settings, nothing actually changes at all, except the borders. And that's about it. But you can change a lot of stuff in AWM. These are the registry keys. You need to somehow apply them. And I will add documentation for that, although it's a very simple method. But if you want to make a GUI for AWM, that's important, I guess. All right, it's not lagging anymore, so we can open up the configurator and go ahead and modify something. So someone actually had an issue with this, and I'm going to go over this. Essentially, you can see the documentation for this this value and all the other values in the source code. I think it is in AWM definitions, and if it's not AWM definitions, it's in AWM types .h under AWM DLL, the folder in the source code on GitHub. So yeah, 4 means full title bar. So these buttons take up the full height of the title bar, as you can see here. And if I maximize this, they're smaller because the title bar is also smaller. So that's good. But what if I want to make the buttons shorter? So let's say I want to make the X button be 10 pixels tall. Let's make sure I applied that. Well, nothing happened because it's ignoring the height values completely. But if I set it to 0, which is aligned to top, now it's 10 pixels and it's aligned to the top. And they're all aligned to the top. You can't just do it for one. It's for all of them. If that's a requested feature, maybe I'll add it. I don't know. It adds a lot of complication to the thing. We'll see. All right. So there's one vertical alignment. And what one does, well, vertical alignments are all vertical. What one does, if I'm not mistaken, is center the buttons to the full title bar. So you see this is it's dead center right here. Let's actually switch back to the old theme because you can see the borders of the button and the title bar way better. Or actually, let's not do that. Let's go through the AWM settings and change the color instead from white to a... let's do that. And for inactive, we'll do... instead of a vibrant pink, let's go with the vibrant bluish green, like that. So now I can see way better. Well, not in active windows, but in active windows, you can see that it's right at dead center of the title bar. If I maximize it, it is still dead center. Let's unfocus. Right there, and I will change the color once again so I can make stuff easier to see in active windows as well. Like so. But what I can do is make it, instead of a line like that, I can make it a line between the actual title bar, so where you can grab it, and as you can see here, the top part is taller than the bottom part because the top part actually has an 8-pixel border right on top of it, which is the resize border right here. And this is centered on the title bar. And as you can see here, it doesn't make much of a difference in maximize windows because it's the same title bar. And this works well for basic theme. What also works well for basic theme using DWM, because you can actually do that with AWM almost. There's a few quirks that or I have to add like proper support. But for Windows 7 Basic and Vista Basic, you can pretty much make a decent enough theme for DWM. And 3 will align to the bottom. And when it's aligned to the bottom, this, where is it? Top inset actually works as a bottom inset instead. So if I change this to, let's say, 4 and apply, you'll see that the button has gone higher, and that is because of what I just described. And so have all the other buttons. You just can't see it well, especially not like this. You can, yeah, you can see it here. They're higher. Actually, no, because that's just maximize window. Whatever. That's unimportant. Well, Texel won't work on the regular Windows 10 theme because it has to be in the MS styles. That's fine, because you're probably not going to be running Texel with us anyway. Though it is something to look out for, and it's one of the reasons I don't use AWM on my system, because I have a broken MS styles. But whatever. If you're using AWM, you're probably using some MS styles too anyway, so I'm not going to bother too much with that. Corner radius, it changes the radius of these, although a different theme would be better, as this is actually cut off here. But that's fine. Let's see. Let me go back to my other settings. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to show off? Actually, before I do that, let's see here. So palette vertical alignment. Let's open up paint.net. I think I had. There we go. So we can see here, this is, I actually don't remember these because they're not as important. But you can check these out in the source code. I'll leave a link to the exact file. You can go check these out yourself. They're not that important because it's like, how often are you looking at palette windows anyway? But sure, you can look at the source code. It's way more verbose there because there's a temporary GUI. It's going to be better, hopefully, soon. Target height 22. Oh yeah, target height. That's actually an important thing. So target height is something related to system metrics. If you don't know what system metrics are, AWM might not be a good program for you, first of all. And second of all, what system metrics are is essentially just the sizes of your title bar, borders, as well as a lot of colors, essentially. So this, the target height, should be equal to this for you to get 1-to-1 matches. So let's say I want a button. Let's do the X button. Let's get the vertical alignment to 0, so it's top. Let's change the inset top, if I can find it, to 1, as it is normally. And let's change the height to 20, like it is in Windows 7. And I'm going to do like a little in-depth explanation of this here. So this is 20 pixels for a 22. These are not good for this. Or actually, sure, let's do the low button as well. Why not? And let's change back to, let's change the color I use. So what was it again? 1, 2, 4, 48, 3. Okay. And this is the color I normally use. So yeah, you can see here, this button is supposedly, I set it to 20. So let's open it up in paint.net and let's take a look at how tall the button actually is. I do this a lot, by the way, with images of metrics and stuff. I just put it in paint.net and do this. It's 18. But how? It's probably 19, but there's a missing line underneath. But how? Why is it not 19 or 20 as it's supposed to be? Because I set it to 20, so it should be 20. So why is it 19 or 18 and not 20? Well, that's because I have my title bar size set to 21. So let's go back into the metrics for AWM, the configurator, and let's change this target height of regular title bar to 21, which matches my metrics. And let's update the window. Let's try again. As you can see, the button grew. If you caught that, it did grow. And let's wait, because this is a VM, as you can probably see from the 2 taskbars. So it is going to be a little bit slow, but I hope you can bear with me. Oh, that's not right. That's not right at all. Let's try that again. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'll use my main system's snipping tool instead. So let's just... we can still see the height of the button even with the mouse covering it, so that's fine. Alright, so now let's count the pixels. And once it decides to load the rectangle, we'll see that it's 19 pixels. So we can add one to the bottom, because, you know, this is an MS Styles thing. I should probably use a different MS Styles for this, but this is good enough. This is a blank space in MS Styles. This is not AWM's fault. It's not AWM's not being wrong here. This is MS Styles. But as you can see, it's 19 pixels, so it's 20, so it's correct. And, oh, this whole VM is now lagging. Why? Give me a second. Give me a second. Actually, I'm afraid I'm going to show my torrents, and I can't show my legal activity on the internet. So I guess we're not going to be using paint.net too much. I'll just do some limits, highest and lowest and whatnot. So let's close out of this so it's not lagging everything up. You can just do that later. So yeah, let's go with the target height of 10. I want my button to be 20 pixels tall when my title bar is 10 pixels tall. So this should basically be a 1:2 ratio. These are ratios basically. So if I apply now and we switch back, we will see that this button is huge. So it is, the title bar is not this big. In fact, I mean, you can kind of see here. See how it goes kind of under? Better? Because this doesn't exactly feel like 2, right? But you gotta remember the 8 pixels at the top. So to make this X button split in half, I'm just going to add another 8 pixels to the top inset. And now, that's the wrong X button. Whoops. But now you'll see that, well, it doesn't exactly split in half. Title bars do have an extra pixel at the bottom. So let's try adding that as well. Not there. There. Well, yeah, it's basically a half split. There's probably some stuff going on with the button. Oh, well. I don't know. Whatever, it's basically half, right? It's basically half. We zoom in, you can see there's a 2 pixels instead of 1 down here, but it's basically half. Who cares? It's accurate enough, right? It's probably an MS Styles thing anyway. So yeah, let's switch back to the Windows 7 theme as well as my, where's the theming tool? Here. Let's switch to Mio 7. It's gonna take a little while, don't worry about it. Alright, I still need to make the button smaller. I'll do that by just applying a .reg file. That's another way to apply presets. there's no way to apply presets, but that is a way to apply presets. So let's see. This, yeah, it's running fine. So let's just hope I don't have anything weird on my desktop. Let's go into tete.reg. I saved my stuff for yes, I would love to have everything stop working correctly. And now we need to apply settings. So I'm actually going to open up a new version of the AWM configurator because this still has the old options in it. So I'm just going to close out of this. Open up this. It needs admin access to make the registry files on first run if they're not there, because awm.awmdll.dll does not handle that itself. That's by design. I was going to always do it with just during installation, basically, and not check that every time AWM runs. I could do it though. Maybe I'll change that up. Yeah, just wait for the thing to load. We're also going to see the center text. That's another cool thing. Is that even the right configurator? No, it's not. It says the wrong defaults. It's the one you actually get on GitHub. Whoops. There we go. But it's whatever. It's the same thing. And now we can just apply. And we can, there you go. You need to click on the windows to actually update them. But I hope that's not too big of a hassle, and I will hopefully eventually make this automatic as well. But not yet. So, now let's see what else. Let's do the text horizontal alignment. So, 0 is left. You can see that. And if I click on all the windows, they're all left aligned. 1 is Windows 8 centering, which means that, let me get a resizable window. Let me get my notepad windows back. Come here. Oh well, yeah. They're obviously centered because I want them to be. So you can see that when I put this just a bit too far, it snaps there. This is the Windows 8 behavior. I checked in a VM. Well, I checked Windows 8.1, but they're probably the same. And this is how it worked. It snapped to the center between the icon and the caption buttons. And that's fine. Sure, it works. The text is always centered in some way. But I myself didn't quite like that. So I made a whole centering algorithm. Sure, you can call it that, I guess. If I can find the configurator, there it is. Which is 3, and we'll get to 2 in a minute. So 3, what 3 does, is it does the exact same thing. But look, now it doesn't snap, it just hugs the right side until it can't anymore. I mean, it's always just hugging the right side. And then once it grows enough, it lets go. And 2 is basically just icon and buttons, just like you would get from centered basic theme. And well, I think that's about it. Another thing there is here, which might be slightly buggy, because I implemented a change yesterday for 1.0.1004, which was a bit hasty. I didn't do a lot of testing, and it was to do with the glow, so it wouldn't disappear under the caption buttons. So you see here, it doesn't get cut off. Let's actually get the magnifier. Come here. And as you can see here, the glow persists behind the caption button. And that is, well, something that was slightly bothering me. So I thought, why not? Anyway, so 4 is right aligned, and I hope you guys won't use it because it might be slightly buggy. I haven't tested it. I made a slight update. It's probably not going to be buggy, but Right to left text will be buggy. So please try not to be from the Middle East. That's it. All right, let's change back to apply. Well, there you can see it being buggy, unless the settings themselves didn't apply. Let's see. No, the settings are applying, but the text is buggy. It bugged out and it has stayed on the right and did not move to the left. So don't use right align text. It's slightly broken. Unless you're going to keep it that way, then it's probably going to be fine. Anyway, icon text vertical alignment, I'm pretty sure this only has two options. 0, which is in the center between the top of the visual title bar and the bottom of the visual title bar, and 1, which is centered between the top of the grabbable title bar and the bottom of the grabbable title bar. And this applies to the icon as well. This is another thing for basic theme, although afterwards I became pretty sure that basic theme actually just makes a text hug the bottom and then adds some pixels between the bottom and the text instead of centering it. But this should be still accurate to basic theme. So if you want to make a basic theme, that's completely fine. And as you can see here, it changes nothing because this is already just the grabbable title bar. There's a lot of other options. You can go through some yourself. Let's see what else we have. We have glow opacity. Sure, let's make it higher. This goes from 0 to 100. And now it's higher when the window is inactive. So you can read your text better if you so wish. And I've gotten requests by theme makers to make this an MS Styles thing. But it was decided in a vote like months ago there was going to be both. It was going to be an option between MS Styles default and AWM. But for now it's just AWM. Oh, here you can see the glow thing pretty well. Now it's just AWM. I don't know when I'm going to make it MS Styles, probably at some point. Or MS Styles as well as AWM. Let's change this to 0 as well. Now why it's still hugging the right side, I don't know. We also have text shadows still, but that I showed that off in the previous video. You can try it out yourself. Let's just do a... You need the offset to be something. I hope -1 works, although I don't think it does. Because it is bugged most likely, but let's try. Let's try making it completely white and see if we can notice anything. Nope, so negative values are broken. Just make it positives and you'll be able to see it. Just like so. Again, magnifier. You can see there's clearly 2 instances of the text being rendered. What else? What else? What else? What else? I think that's about it. Let me just go through here, see if there's anything. Let me actually turn the shadow off. Okay. Oh, that's not, yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah, there you go. A stands for alpha. These go from 0 to 255. Some go from 0 to 100. Let's do some. Let's turn off transparency just to show off a bit of how color balance works, although you should probably run AWM alongside DWM blur glass, and I will showcase that in a second, as well as a quirk that happens when you run those in the wrong order, because they both handle text and they conflict a little bit. I explained this in the beginning. What was I trying to do? Seriously, what was I trying to do? I forgot. All right, color balance and transparency. Let's see, use transparency. Accent policy, don't use this. This is not really anything important, so don't use it. have it set to 0 at all times. Use transparency. Let's go with 0. So I don't want transparent windows. I don't like transparency. So in this case, what that's going to do is going to make the windows opaque. But as you can see here, it gets lighter when it's here, even though the active and inactive colors are set to the exact same thing. Why is that? Well, color balance. So this basically mimics Windows 7. And if you set your color balances correctly, so 140, you actually get the exact same colors you would get on Windows 7 when you have these same values applied. And color balance basically determines, or it's actually not the exact same. They're off by a single number, by a 1, because I preferred the number 224 over 223. But I don't think you're going to be that, I don't think you'll be able to see it. So if I set this to 0, now all active windows will be completely, well, grayish. Well, inactive will still be like this. And if I set it to 100, they're going to be the exact color I have set. And now to DWM blur glass. So a really important note with DWM blur glass is that you should not run it after AWM has already started, because after a certain point, any new window you open, first of all, text in old windows will no longer update, and any new window you open will have its text not show up at all. And this is an issue because both of these target text, but AWM has a really fragile system for text. And as you can see, this is applied, and you might get some slowdown when reset. Well, that's just VM. Don't worry, it's not gonna look like this, but you might lag behind a little bit. That is my fault, and not, well, it's both, because this adds some stuff to, tells this GPU to do a lot, and that I'm also telling it to do even more of the text, and it starts to lag when you resize it. And my mouse is lagging, but that's just probably because I'm torrenting still. Yeah, so let's try a run window and see if the text still pops up. It still does. After some point, it probably won't. So run DWM blur glass first, then run AWM, and your text should appear just fine. And as you can see, this completely overrides any settings. We still have transparency. Use transparency will do absolutely nothing. If I apply it, it's not going to do anything. No colorization settings will change anything whatsoever. AWM is useless in the colorization department if you're running DWM blur glass. But you can just set the stuff that you want to set in DWM blur glass, so that's not really an issue that I have to worry about. Apparently, text horizontal alignment is supposed to be, I don't know why this is centered, but that's fine. You're probably not going to be changing it too much. If anything, just it has lagged in some way. A really, something you can do is, if I open up Task Manager, if you want your settings to completely update and do a full reset, you can restart the desktop window manager, which this modifies. And something to clarify before closing the video, because I am going to end this in about a minute or two. So yeah, something to clarify is that Aero Window Manager is not actually a window manager. It's just a name I thought was cool when I thought of it. So please don't think it's a window manager, because it isn't. And it's not a replacement for DWM. It just runs on top of it. And DWM is also not a window manager. It's just a compositor. And that's why I was comfortable making my thing Aero Window Manager, because Desktop Window Manager is not a window manager. It can just abandon saved data, shut down, Give it a bit. It's gonna black screen. It's gonna come back. And if we give it a bit, because again, virtual machine, this is gonna be like instant on your computer. At least it is on mine. Oh, evening up. Wow. And yeah, DWM Blur Glass is annoyed by what I just did. Oh, magnifier is also kind of fucked up here. I wonder why. Oh, that's interesting. Can I? Oh, whoa, whoa. That's cool. Didn't know you could do that. Well, can I zoom in now? Oh, that's really cool. Well, I think this is just a regular magnifier window, but it's small. Maybe. Perhaps you can pop it out. I don't know. I really don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that AWM hasn't actually relaunched, even though it should after crashing AWM, but the injector might be. Let's close out of this and let's go back. Oh, it's gonna let. Yeah, just run the command above. The installation instructions are on the GitHub. Please read them. Some people actually got access to a leaked version of AWM. And because installing it is a bit complicated, they didn't know how to run it. And that was really funny. So some guy, right, called Alcatel token logged a bunch of people pretending to be the creator of DWM Blur Glass on Discord. And just posting, oh, hey guys, this is DWM Blur Glass 3.0, and people, or 3.0.1, and people believed it. They downloaded the version, which wasn't DWM Blur Glass. It was a token logger for anything Chromium. So, Steam, Discord, Chrome itself, a bunch of cookies, IP address as well, just a lot of info about the person. So anyone who ran it had their Discord accounts compromised for a little bit. Their names changed to Big Alcatel Fan, and some of those people happen to be in the secret AWM beta testing Discord, and so Alcatel got access to AWM. Let's start AWM, add it. So he got access to AWM even though he shouldn't have. And what happened was that he basically then came into my DMs, said, "Hey, Delappy, I'm not going to I'm not going to leak it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying those bad things to you." He called me he called me the N-word. He's like, Greek N-word, ha ha ha, I've got access to AWM, now I'm gonna leak it. And he didn't for a little bit. He actually, yeah, he was like, "Hey, Delappy, I'm actually not gonna leak it. I'm sorry. I'm leaving the Windows modding community to go bot my YouTube channel and my Discord server. Because they're both like full of bots. He has 100,000 subscribers and gets 60 views. And so he had access to AWM. He then sent it to some people, and in a zip file called AWM underscore, or well, I'm not gonna say the underscores, AWM leak by Alcatel, which is the name he uses. He's probably like, he's watched like probably like 2 animes, like, oh, hey guys, Japan is so cool. Raw! I love Japan! Ah! And so, oh yeah, and as you can see, everything's been, what? everything's been reset. You can see the stuff is on the left, and including the magnifier, and all these windows are all on the left, and text is completely fine. So what was I saying? Right, Alcatel. Said AWM leak by Alcatel. It's like so cool, and there was like a bunch of Polish people trying to run AWM, and they just couldn't figure it out. They just couldn't figure out how to get that damn thing to run. And he probably would have leaked it if they had figured out how to run it. But because it's a complicated process and you have to register a certain DLL for symbols, they actually just couldn't figure it out. And it was funny because they had someone in their server who I also knew, and he was sending me screenshots whenever they were speaking in English or even Polish. He still couldn't figure it out, even when they were speaking Polish. But that was just funny. He himself couldn't figure it out. Nobody can figure out how to install this, and that's why you have installation instructions. And one day this will all be automatic, and you won't have to meticulously install PS tools and do a bunch of stuff. You'll just be able to run the program. But for now, you have this, and I will see you in the future at some point. Maybe soon, maybe not. Depends whenever I feel like making a video. Yeah, this is AWM. It's pretty cool, and you can do a lot of stuff with this, not just for Windows 7. Although most people are probably going to be using it for Windows 7. But please give other things a try, because it is, in my opinion, worth it quite a bit. Bye-bye.